So like what I was talking about is the like going to see. I saw Barbie first and Oppenheimer, and there's like very much different perspectives about which movie's better or whatever. It's not so important. I think Barbie is worth seeing because it has such layers of commentary about modern society in it. Because it's about these perspectives of patriarchy. It's about the perspectives of, what are the corporate culture? What is feminism? What is masculinity? And, these are such like present issues and topics that we're dealing with in modern society.
That's number one.
It is, right?
That sort of stuff.
And that's it. Like that right now we're here and this is like, it's a $1.8 billion movie, right?
I saw that and I couldn't believe that. That must be the quickest to $1 billion.
It's not the quickest, but it's really close.
It was like a week, wasn't it, before it made $1 billion?
Yeah.
I can't remember ever seeing that.
It's definitely in the top 5 fastest grossing films. And
quicker than Oppenheimer.
Yeah, for sure. And it's making much more money than Oppenheimer.
Yeah.
And for good reasons too. Like I could totally understand that. What it is it does what American movies do really well. It speaks a message. It's beautiful, it's flashy, it's full of stuff going on, and
I have a feeling that it's going to have the same effect as the Lego movie, in terms of when you see something like, the Lego movie, is that going to be for me? And then you watch it and you're like, actually, yeah, that's right. That is for everyone. I've got a feeling that Barbie's going to be like the social network had a similar effect on me as well, where you look at you thinking that Justin Timberlake in a film about Facebook, that sounds shit. But in the end, you're thinking, okay, no, it is actually a very good film.
Because it affects us.
Yeah.
Yeah, and I think that's very true. I think there's so much in it that is present in our modern society. And yes, it's a more American culture than French culture. But this is one of the topics we talked about, is how American culture pervades, other cultures around the world. And this is a lot about what these movies are about. If you talk about Oppenheimer, Oppenheimer is, I would say something like it's a 3-hour movie, and I didn't get bored.
That's a good sign.
I didn't think that, oh my gosh, this is a long movie, even once during it. I was so enthralled by the way that they were telling the story. And I kind of knew the story before, at least in a vague sense. I know about Oppenheimer. I know about the Manhattan Project. I know what they were doing. I know how bombs were built and stuff like that. But it's a movie about the politics. The movie's about the people, and it's a movie about what does it mean, right? Like, one of the things that was really interesting is we were like, I went with 4 girls, so we're standing outside,
nice,
chatting with the 4 girls afterwards, right? About all these different things, all of these different implications and what it meant. And, we talked about everything like, does it have to mean something?
Oppenheimer with 4 girls, Barbie with 4 girls.
Yeah. No, Barbie I saw with 2 girls. 3 girls? I don't know. 2 or 3. I don't know.
Alan's losing count.
I was really only paying attention to one of them.
Okay.
And except in the conversation, because like everybody has something interesting to say. But like, one of the things we talked about is, does it matter? Does it have to have a meaning behind it? And my case was really simple. I just said, look, what we know is we don't pay attention to facts very well. As people, we pay attention to what gives us emotion.
Yep.
And literally, movies exist to give us an emotional ride.
I am completely on board with that sentiment. Especially deep. You're talking about films with like a deeper meaning, where you've got to kind of take it at more than face value. Is that what you mean? That sort of thing? Because I am Captain Face Value. I don't see any. If there's any deeper kind of poetic shit going on,
this is exactly what I'm talking about. Okay. My point is that when you go see a movie and you take it at face value, and it has messages inside of it, and you don't recognize them, your subconscious still does.
Fair enough.
And you're still affected by everything you see. You know, our subconscious is a huge memory bank of everything we've ever processed into our brains. And we know that's true because we've got massive amounts of studies learning about how our brains work and stuff like that, and why we think the way we think. And this is why I read the crazy books that I do, and I enjoy this stuff, because it's so interesting to understand how we become who we are. And, you know, this kind of thing, you know, it's like there's statements kind of made in the Barbie movie that I said, you know, like I was saying, like, I don't agree with this conclusion that the Barbie movie comes up with. And everyone's like, I don't think that's a conclusion, or why does it matter? It's just a movie. And I said, well, sure, right? I get where you're coming from. It's just a movie. It doesn't have to mean a big deal. But the thing is, you know, now we're talking, you know, like 100 million people have seen it, right? The ideas inside the movie subtly become part of the cultural zeitgeist everywhere in the world. And those ideas, whether you realize you're paying attention to them or not, have become part of who you are. Unless you address them and you say, I'm going to contextualize that.
How long does that last, though, do you think? Do you know what I mean? Like, is the zeitgeist now, because Oppenheimer's out now and it's what everyone's talking about, but then do you not think that people kind of just go back to where they were?
Well,
before they thought they might have some new ideas that have been thought-provoking things may have come out of watching the film, and then they may have taken some aspects of that, and I don't know, we'll then use it later on. But I do not think it might just phase, like, for me anyway, like a film, like I was saying, like face value, I take it so much at face value that I go to the cinema, I watch a film, I think about it for a week or two maybe, and then it's like it's just in the bank of films I've seen.
Right, for sure. And
very easily pleased person.
But I mean, like, do you ever, for example, right? You're doing something in life, or you're making a decision. Am I going to watch movie A or watch movie B, right? And then you kind of like, in the back of your mind, you're kind of like, oh, I get a vibe. I kind of feel like movie A. And you're like, I don't know why. I just feel like it, right? Well, that feeling like it comes from the culmination of all the different stuff that you've ever done.
Do I feel like sitting down and watching that film right now?
No. I mean, like, I'm just saying, like, what I'm saying is that every movie you've ever watched affects every movie you will choose to watch in the future.
Okay.
Right? And therefore, every movie you've ever watched affects the choices you make in life subtly. I mean, I'm not talking about even 1%, right? There are some movies that you could watch that might cause you to have a 1% change in your opinion, right? And I'm not necessarily saying that these are, but the thing is that the bigger the emotional response, the stronger it resides in your subconscious memory, and the longer it resides in your subconscious memory. It's hormones, they're bound in. We have neural pathways. Every time we talk about it, we think about it. That ingrains these things more. And that's why, in my opinion, if something is like, has a big cultural significance, it's valuable to talk about it, because what that does is it contextualizes it. It runs it through your brain multiple times with you thinking about it in different ways, so that it doesn't just become this invisible line of connection inside of your brain. It becomes this thought out network of thoughts, so that you have like a kind of, it becomes more solid, but then it becomes referenced to other things, and it becomes more real because you're like, hey, okay, yeah, I did see that movie and it meant something because this, right?
So what would you say is the film that you've seen that you've left the cinema, or if you've watched it at home, turned the DVD player off, or whatever? DVD players, do you remember them? What film would you say had the biggest like impact on your life as a whole then? Well, not necessarily in your life as a whole, but like maybe even just that initial, the film's finished, you press pause and you think, fuck.
The Matrix.
That was crazy. Yeah, that's a good one. Yeah.
Right?
I mean, that's a good answer, yeah.
You know, like, have you seen all the Matrix movies?
I didn't see the latest one. I'm quite bad with cinema and stuff, and going to see like the films of the moment. I don't really do that much.
I enjoyed the latest one, but I don't think it's a must see. It was an interesting take on it.
Yeah,
I didn't.
Well, I got lost. Again, like I say, I'm Captain fucking obvious and face value kind of. So the Matrix 2 and 3 really lost me very quick, and I found myself found myself waiting for the fight scenes. I enjoyed them. I thought they were great. First one was epic, like crazy.
Well,
The second one and the third one really kind of went, whoa, okay, this is too deep for me.
so how well do you remember the Matrix?
17-year-old stoner at the time. It's just like, well, I'm just, he stopped the bullets. That's great. That's good enough for me. That's worth the 10 quid.
Like, there's a part in the Matrix 2, which is interesting because, like, the whole idea of the Matrix is very interesting. The whole concept, right?
It's a phenomenal idea.
Simulation theory. It's not new.
No,
no.
No.
They didn't invent it, but they used it beautifully.
Yeah.
But what's interesting is also that I don't want to get too far into this because this is a huge rabbit hole. But the story of the Matrix that comes from a role playing game that these guys were playing together.
Okay.
And without getting too much into the role playing game, part of the idea of the role playing game is like that the universe that exists is a consensual reality, right? Like everyone has a piece of will, and our will together as conscious beings creates everything that exists.
Okay.
Which kind of explains why we have quantum entanglement and quantum things going on where like stuff isn't actually real until you look at it, kind of stuff going on.
Love it. I bought a book for my holiday that I've just come back from, which was about quantum physics. It's called, I can't remember what it's called, Quantum for the Bemused, I think it is.
Ooh,
by
nice.
An English physicist called Jim Al-Khalili. I think I've pronounced his name right. But yeah, he's very good at telling you about quantum physics on a very in layman's terms, like how it works, and it is fascinating. Yeah, but
neat. No, I'd love to
looking forward to read that.
To talk to you about that after you've read it. Yeah, that's interesting. I always like to hear about new books too and get the recommendations.
Talking about, again, sorry, I've interrupted you. There's another book that you'll be interested in. I think it's being made into a Netflix series. I think it might already be out. I don't know, but the three body.
Oh yeah,
problem.
yeah. Oh, the 3-body problem.
Yeah.
Fantastic.
I'm maybe a quarter of the way through the book. Have you read
the
it?
first one or the second one?
I guess it's the first one.
Oh.
Set in the Chinese Revolution,
yeah.
or the Cultural Revolution, the 60s.
Oh no. Okay, that's the mind bender, but the mind fuck is the second book called The Dark Forest.
I saw it's a trilogy or it's a series.
Yeah, it's a trilogy.
Okay.
The Dark Forest, that's such a big thing. I mean, we have an entire conversation about that.
Yeah.
Right, because that relates to the Fermi paradox. It relates to the idea of aliens, and it's actually one of the. I think it's super interesting because it's one of the very few reasons for the Fermi paradox that's new.
You're gonna have to explain what paradox?
Fermi paradox, like named after Enrico Fermi,
right?
Who was one of the scientists who worked on the nuclear bomb, actually, in the Manhattan Project.
Oh yeah, we've come full circle. Look at this.
But Fermi was like Enrico Fermi. He was actually a physicist. And not only that, I mean, it's cool because I actually worked on a satellite called Fermi Space Telescope as well.
See this guy.
Like, but so the Fermi paradox is this. He says, okay, like if you just look at the math and you say, okay, if you think about what allows life or intelligent life to exist, right? And you say like, if you say 1 in a million stars has planets and 1 in a million planets has life, like the stuff to can make life, and 1 out of every million planets that has the stuff to make life, like makes life, and then 1 in a million times there's life, it becomes intelligent.
Okay.
Right?
Yeah.
If you take all the stars in our galaxy, not the universe, in our galaxy.
Oh yeah, like we're like there's like 4 where there's possibility of life.
No. Okay. And then just like, okay, you take all those planets, right? That there could be intelligent life, and then you take all the time for basically the past, like you could have had life as much as 2 billion years ago.
Yeah.
Okay. So, and then you say like, if any of those species was intelligent, and they got to the point where, beyond where we are right now, but like they got to the point where they could build a spaceship that could go to another star system in, say, 500 years, not traveling at the speed of light, just traveling with what we know could be done, what we call hard physics.
Yeah.
And it could go and land on another place, mine some stuff up, and build a copy of itself in 500 years. So that means every 1,000 years it goes to a place, like 10 10 light years away.
Yeah.
It makes 2 copies and sends it out, right? If you made a system that could do that, it could cover the entire galaxy in 50 million years.
Okay.
So that's 20 times per billion years, right? That means that 40 times over it could have happened. So the question is, right?
As in, like, it could have happened, then they've all been wiped out, and then it happens again.
Well, right, like that's the point, right? If it could have happened, so like if it has happened, why haven't we met aliens, right?
Yep.
Okay. So the Fermi paradox is this. It seems like we should have met aliens because probabilistically, either they're out there, and they're out there. The Fermi paradox says they're not, as far as we can tell. Therefore, there's something preventing us from happening. So, for example, there's what's considered called the Great Barrier. And the Great Barrier could be, for example, we blow ourselves up, we nuke ourselves to death, right? And therefore, we never achieve space. Okay, we run out of fossil fuels before we get to space, right? We get destroyed by other aliens, right? There's a galactic empire out there that goes, oh, you guys left your solar system. Nope, you're dead, right? Right. So there's all kinds of possibilities like that, right? And it's interesting because, do you want me to talk about the Dark Forest or not?
Do you know what? This is the first book that I've read. It's been a while. For me, it takes me a while to get into a book and really get into the swing of things. And this one, like, it's got me. I started reading it on the beach, and you can always get into a book quicker when you're on a beach.
Yeah,
it's the best place to try and start reading something. I find. So I'm getting into it. I can see that it's going to be very mind bending, and I'm going to have to really try and concentrate. I don't know how much it goes into the science.
Don't worry
without
about
giving out anything too much away. Like scientists have discovered that mainstream physics is a fallacy.
Right.
Doesn't actually exist. The way that we think the physical world, well, not even on a quantum level, on a normal everyday level.
But mostly it's a quantum level. Mostly it's quantum.
But they think that because they discovered that physics doesn't exist on a quantum level, that will affect our reality as well.
Right. But more importantly, I mean, how far into the book are you?
I've just discovered that there's they've got basically the Large Hadron Collider type situations going on. They've got 3 of them. I don't know who it like this. The kind of the revolutionaries, like the scientists, have started kind of trying to develop new weapons and then discovered this. And that's what I've just got to the point where someone's been told. There's a lot of characters so far. Like it keeps going back and forth between.
Yeah, it's tough.
So they've just found that quantum physics doesn't exist.
And you understand from the alien side why that is.
They haven't touched on anything alien. Nothing alien has been touched on yet.
Oh, okay.
They're still talking about what they've discovered.
Okay.
On Earth.
Okay. That's they're not. They haven't started explaining the 3-body planet.
No, God, no. I'm literally.
Oh gosh, maybe I'm
40 pages, 50 pages in.
Oh, okay.
I mean, don't worry. I mean, again, another thing as well. In terms of spoiler alert, I'm not.
No. That's fine. No, I enjoy it. Like it's really interesting.
It's like I said, it's been a while since something's kind of caught my attention and made me want to continue reading. But
they're phenomenal books. And the ideas.
And it's translated, right? It is originally
Chinese.
A Chinese book.
Yeah, really.
I want to kind of definitely get at least one of them out of the way before the Netflix series drops, because it sounds like it would be a very good series as well.
They could do a really good job.
And that's right up my street as well. That sort of thing, that kind of mind-bending, quantum physics-y type of thing. I'm not going to sit here and pretend I understand it in any way whatsoever. But that's why I like it, I think, because it's so difficult to get your head around that sort of stuff, space and time, and it's so difficult to imagine those things. Well, some of it's unimaginable. You can't imagine a black hole. You can't imagine, a star that's 200 times the size of the Earth. Our sun, sorry.
We can imagine it in the theater of the mind, right? That's what Einstein did. He's like, well, what would happen if I'm, riding on a photon of light, right? And how does the world look, and he said, wait a minute, we've seen the way that these things interact with each other. And it seems like there's, some kind of limiting factor. And if there is a limiting factor of, a top speed for light in vacuum, how does that affect everything, And looking over, he's like, imagining like you can imagine being on a train, right? But imagine the train is a photon of light, okay? And there's another train going next to you, and that photon is like this. If the light was traveling from that if it produced light, and it left this going at the speed of light, you'd never see it, right? Because you go forward at the rate that it's behind you,
right?
So you can only see it in the past.
Yeah, this is it. This
right?
is where you're thinking, okay, yeah. I can't get my head around that, but
there's a new documentary on Netflix which is about the James Webb Space Telescope.
Oh, okay. See that stuff, yeah.
And that's it, like literally called like Looking Back in Time or something like that, because we are looking at these galaxies that are 100 light years away, which means the light has traveled for 100 years. Like the light coming out of a sun existed before we existed.
Yeah.
Right, and it traveled our entire lifetimes.
I love
it.
See, I did actually smoke a little bit of weed before I came out here as well. So I'm currently on the back end of a bit of I'm still a little bit stoned. So this is perfect conversation fodder for me right now. This is what I want right now. Yeah.
Nice.
How far it takes for light to travel. Oh, yeah, I get that as well, and the proof that the universe is expanding is the fact that the light from these different galaxies are different colors on the spectrum as well. Like they
shifted.
The red galaxy. If you see a red galaxy, they're the furthest away. Am I right in thinking that? Because they're the ones that have stretched the furthest.
The Doppler means that it's either coming towards us or going away from us, right? So basically, what it's to say is like we know what color hydrogen burns, okay? And so knowing what color hydrogen burns and knowing that hydrogen makes up most of the universe, we know the frequency of light that we should see from hydrogen. But we're seeing some that are a little bit more red, which means that the wavelength is smaller.
Okay, yes.
Or the wavelength is bluish, so the wavelength is wider. So it's not actually bluish, it's not actually red. It's just like in comparison to what it should be normally. So the red is coming towards us. Right, red shift is coming towards us, blue shift is going away, and so that's what you see. That we're seeing the universe, and from our corner of the universe, as it were, how things are moving in relation to us. And it's kind of like it's tough because it's in relation to us, and all we can see out, right? The universe, as far as we can tell, is 13.3 or 13.4 billion years old, because that's what our evidence shows us right now. But like that means that. You could just kind of imagine, right, that if something is farther away than 13.4 billion light years away, we couldn't even see it.
Yeah.
Because at 13.5 billion years ago, everything was in the same spot.
Yep. That's mind-blowing. I love it. Yeah. I mean, I find myself, I do watch a lot of Brian Cox. And Brian Cox is one of my favorites. One of my favorite people to watch because his voice as well is like everything about that guy. It's just I love him, and this Jim Al-Khalili as well. I think he's relatively well known in England. He's not like the Brian Cox level kind of celebrity physicist, but he's had a few TV shows and some of the stuff they say on these things. It's just it blows my mind. What was the one that got me the other day? Oh yeah, the Earth. If you was to shrink the Earth down to the size of a pool ball, it will be the smoothest pool ball ever created because the surface of the Earth relatively is so smooth. If you were to make it the size, if you was to shrink it down to that size, that blew my mind as well.
Yeah,
I love that.
Right, like Mount Everest is nothing
just
compared to what you'd find on a pool ball.
If a being approached the Earth and the Earth was the size of a pool ball to them,
Yeah,
I love that shit.
That's wild stuff, and that's exactly like that kind of documentary from from the James Webb Space Telescope and stuff like that, because you get these.
That's on
kind
Netflix now, is it?
Yeah, it's
I'll have to check that out.
these wild perspectives about what it's out there. There's, like I said, I got to one of the first satellites I worked on was the Fermi Space Telescope, and there's a pretty cool story. So there's lots of stories I have from building it, right? So building the satellite, launching it, but it's a space telescope that's designed to detect and measure gamma rays, so the highest energy of light, right? So it's like, we can see visible light, okay? And, higher energy light becomes things like microwaves, right? And then there's microwaves, above microwaves, higher frequency microwaves, radio waves, what we call them. And then you get into high energy particles. You get X-rays would be in between there. There's a bunch. I'm trying to look at the spectrum in my head, and it's not all clear off the top of my head. But way out of the high energy spectrum is gamma rays. And they're basically like the top end things. And they're the stuff that comes from radioactive breakdown. They come from supernovas exploding. You're talking about like the radioactive decay in stars. Black holes mostly give off X-rays as far as we know, but there's some gamma ray excitation that happens in the event horizon, which is like when something falls from the event horizon of a black hole. Is
Event Horizon is a great film as well, by the way.
Oh, I hated that movie, mostly because of expectations. I thought it was a science fiction movie, not a horror movie.
It's fucking scary, that film.
I was like, what is this? What is this? What is going on? This is absurd.
It is a little bit absurd. It is a little bit absurd.
I didn't realize I was going to a horror movie. I think
you was expecting.
Yeah.
Oh, so the science.
I thought I was going to science fiction.
Off then, I bet.
I mean, it just was so cheesy. Right?
Yeah.
Like, this ship went to hell.
That's it. Do you know what? I completely forgot that. I saw it recently. Because the first time I saw that,
and it brought back something with it.
Is that the tagline?
Pretty much. I don't remember exactly, but it's something like that.
The ship went to hell. That's good. If you haven't watched it anyway, if you people listening or watching haven't seen it,
if you like the horror movies,
Event Horizon is up there. Top horror. Yeah, it's good.
But like the Event Horizon actually comes from, it's like the idea of a black hole is that there's so much mass in one place that it's crushed itself down to the point where it has enough gravity to like make light come into it. And you might have, imagine this is like the singularity or the spot in the center that contains all the mass, because it's crushed it all down into one singular point. Okay. It like matter, like dirt and stuff like that, can't be dirt anymore because gravity's too strong. And it crushes it beyond dirt into like.
Does it just like pull it apart, or does it crush it?
No, it crushes it into like a spot of stuff we don't understand.
Yeah.
Okay. Because gravity's so strong at this point.
Yeah.
That it destroys. It's stronger than the strong force, the nuclear force, the weak nuclear force, all these different forces that cause things to be the way they are in our like everyday world.
Yeah.
It's so strong, in fact, that light will bend towards it. Now, you can imagine, like, we have our Earth, and there's gravity going around. Things can orbit around the Earth, okay? Like the moon does, the satellites do. There's escape velocity, which means that if something is orbiting around, it goes to escape velocity, it can leave the Earth.
Yes.
Okay.
Black hole.
A black hole.
You're gonna struggle
if you're a particle of light or a wave of a photon, right? And you hit the point where you get sucked in, you can never leave because the gravity is too strong. Okay. That point where light gets absorbed rather than getting to skim by. Is the event horizon. Once you pass the event horizon, you've gone to a different kind of place.
I saw something about black holes yesterday, in fact, and I'm going to butcher it right now because I'm not going to be able to remember it. But he said it was Brian Cox again. He said that they originally they thought that everything was just crushed to smithereens and just destroyed in a black hole, but now they think that maybe that it's kind of like disintegrated. You're kind of like just all your particles are just kind of like blown to bits, blown apart. And so technically they're still in there. He's like, so you could technically come out the other side of it. He was saying, imagine if you took a book and you burnt a book, all the particles and like the ash kind of like disappears into the atmosphere. But he was like, technically, you could get that book back together again.
Book, all the information that made the book exist
still exists. So there's technically there's a way that you could come out the other side of it.
This is the question we ask, and we don't know the answer to that question.
Yeah.
Like these is physicists are actually really working on questions exactly like that today, trying to understand what happens to information when it passes into a black hole, and therefore, there's theories like wormholes, which are like the idea of being able to travel from one black hole to another. And this
Event Horizon.
There you go, right? Just like, if you go into a black hole, does that mean you go to hell?
Yeah. Well, you don't know.
I don't know, right? It's an extra dimensional space.
It's just mental. It's like these people working this shit out. Again, going back to talking about me being like everything at face value, I'm not an ideas guy, as it were. But if the whole population of human kind had ever been at my limit of intelligence, we'd still be in caves. Like we were barely made fire by now.
I don't.
So I love the fact that they got these people that are just
like I don't think that's
extraordinary physicists.
I totally disagree with that statement. Just for record.
Oh really?
Yeah. I think that
I might be able to build a shelter.
I mean, the thing is that like we're driven to do the things that we need. The reason why we have these super specialized, super intelligent people that are popping out in society is because of society, right?
Okay.
Only because we support them can they exist in doing the things that they do.
Yeah.
Right? I mean, I think you had lots of like genius bricklayers once, like a long time ago, right? I mean, that's the reality is like, yes, I mean, it's an exponential thing. Like, high intelligence, high types of intelligence, multiple types of intelligence, they're all different, and I think that they're out there, and I think that it's actually the pressures and the opportunities in society that cause us to train certain traits inside of ourselves and allow those to exist. I mean, it's like, I think Isaac Newton said it the best, we stand on the shoulders of giants. There's all kinds of stuff. I mean, everything we do, we're recording this on like, computers that, computers were invented in the past 100 years, and they, computers were, there was a mathematician Alan Turing, right? Have you ever seen the movie about Alan Turing?
Yeah, the Imitation Game.
Imitation Game, yes.
Benedict Cumberbatch.
Yeah, the Enigma machine. He's actually kind of famous for is he invented the theory of how computers work today.
Yeah.
Like the theory of a system that can solve any problem effectively, right? So he created an algorithm that could execute any algorithm. I
mean, it's crazy. My favorite Alan Turing fact is, or like that kind of, there's that, well, not fact actually, it was that rumor that, because he was poisoned by an apple, wasn't he, Alan Turing? And people thought that Steve Jobs came up with the Apple logo, like the apple with a bite taken out of it, because like as a homage to Alan Turing. And then when Steve Jobs was asked, he was like, "Shit, I wish it was, because that's fucking awesome." So like,
no kidding, right?
To him. But it's not. It's just some kind of humongous coincidence. But yeah, what a legend! Basically won the war for the Allies, put in prison for being homosexual.
Saved a lot of people's lives.
And I think the Queen pardoned him, like 2005, like within the 21st century. Like they didn't recognize how much of a legend, how important he was until then. Like he was in prison for being gay, and then just forgotten about, completely forgotten about. Until like I said, it was like 2005, 2000, might have even been more recent than that. Before the Queen came out and went, "Oh, by the way, sorry, We apologise for treating you like a cunt. Thanks for winning the war.
Shit. There's so much of that. Yeah.
Mental.
Yeah, I mean, and that's it. Like, you know, that's the other side of things. It goes back to, like, it's partly what Oppenheimer's all about. And the point of Oppenheimer, it surrounds like the construction of the bomb, the life, the important aspects of the life of Oppenheimer as it relates to the creation of the nuclear bomb.
Yeah.
But it's so much about his life, and it's so much about people, and it's so much about how we interact with each other as people, and this is why it's so interesting. I think that the deeper thing about like Barbenheimer is about how Oppenheimer addresses these kind of core questions of morality, of responsibility, of what it means to do important things. And, asking the question, should Oppenheimer have felt bad about the people who died in Hiroshima and Nagasaki?
Probably. I would have thought. I would hope he did.
And I would say, like, we had this conversation outside the theater, right? And I said, yeah, it's the right thing that he felt bad. But part of the movie is about is about who's responsible and who will they remember as being responsible and all of this. And these are important aspects of what the movie's about. So I don't want to go into it until you've seen it. But it's a great conversation.
Yeah, I'll have to say that. Let's wrap that one up, I think. This has been an extremely impromptu pubcast. We were testing the microphones, we were having a conversation, and we thought let's get the camera rolling, let's hit record. So that's what we did. So yeah, hopefully you enjoyed that little conversation there. Yes, this is Seven Sisters Pubcast. So like, subscribe, all that jazz. Thank you for watching, and we'll see you again. Thank you very much.